Welcome to the Unai Emery press conference reaction, and I'm joined by Justin. So we've had big news coming out of Aston Villa today is that Danny Ings is now having a medical with West Ham United. It's sort of, what is it, 12 million pounds with a £3 million add-on at the end of it. So it'd probably take it to around 15 million pounds. So Justin, what are your thoughts on us selling Danny Ings?
Danny Ings sale. I'm not surprised. I think we all sort of thought it was going to happen. If it didn't happen in the winter window, it would have happened in the summer window. Watkins is obviously the younger of the striker, and he offers more flexibility to the way that Emery plays. So I always felt like if you had to sacrifice one, it would be Danny Ings. I think he's a great bloke, from what I've heard of him. I think he's a consummate professional. I think he's never caused us a minute's problem at Villa. He sat on the bench. He's come on and he's tried his best. He's scored a few goals. He's played decent enough. His goal return probably isn't what he would have hoped for or what we would have hoped for, but he has been in and out the side. As brutal as it sounds, I'm not going to lose much sleep about Danny Ings leaving. Because I think you've got to look at the way I'm looking at it is now the bigger picture. And the bigger picture for me is Unai Emery's reign has started this window. So this is his first chance to stamp his authority on the squad and to sort it out, really, I suppose, to get rid of the players that he doesn't see have got a future. Whether that's players that just won't play, sort of squad players that we've seen leave, like Gilbert was never going to get a minute on the pitch, was he? So he's gone. Augustinson looks like he's going to follow him as well. I think Badnarek will probably be another one that will disappear that have never got anywhere near the first team. And then you've got the other side of the coin, players that have played in the first team that don't really fit in with his philosophy and the way he wants to go. And at nearly, 31 years of age, the fourth highest earner at the club, I think it's good money for him, to be honest. And I think it's a sensible move. I know people are probably going to be annoyed that we're selling, I know he's our top scorer, but he's only scored 6. It's hardly like if he'd scored 15 goals this season, I think I'd be a bit more annoyed. But it's only 6, But Bailey's got 5, so it's an interesting move. I'm not surprised by it. I'm not shocked by it. I'm not overly fussed by it because we're not in cup competitions. We're sort of mid-table, so let's get the revolution started as soon as possible. If that means we've got to shed one or two of the higher earners and the elder players. I mean, everybody's moaning about the age of the squad, the average age. So, Danny, this sale sort of brings that down, doesn't it? As well.
Yeah, and it massively highlights for me what Unai Emery is all about and what he's trying to build at Aston Villa. It's like you can't just have any player. You can't just have anyone knocking about and just think, well, we've got Danny Ings. He can just be our striker. It doesn't work like that with Unai Emery. He has to have the specific players to suit his system. And fundamentally, Danny Ings just doesn't work, does it? And I think it works off the bench because when you're coming off the bench as a striker, generally, you're coming off because something's not quite working. So you're just looking for a bit of a reaction. Wolves at home, prime example. We just really needed to get back in the game. And I know now he's gone, we don't have that. But without being brutal, that's all he was to Aston Villa. He was just an impact player who was never going to be able to start games and do what Unai Emery wanted him to do. I mean, he started against Stevenage and he hardly touched the ball, did he? And I mean, that was against Stevenage. And that was with him having a start. So I think it's just important now that I think as a fans, we try and get in this mindset of that if they don't suit and they don't fit, then they potentially might be a fan favourite. But if they don't fit, then they're going to leave.
I think it's, if we were talking a summer window and we was sort of 2 weeks away from it closing and we had 2 frontline strikers and we were selling one of them, I would be a bit worried. But we're not. You know, we're just into the starting few weeks of Emery's tenure. I would imagine either he's been told or his agents have been told, look, if there is a club out there that fancies you and you know will offer you the first team football, you know, we would consider it. West Ham could have just come in and said, you know, there's an amount of money. Would you consider selling Danny Ings? So Villa have had to go away and discuss it, the merits of it. And I think financially and long term planning wise for our squad, I think it's the right move. I categorically think it's the right move. I'm not even that fussy. It's going to sound mad if we don't bring another striker in. I still think there's a very good, even more so of a chance now of bringing another striker in to sort of replace him before the end of this window with him leaving. But I wouldn't want to just panic buy somebody because you might as well have just kept Danny Ings. You know, I want to see a mid-20s or younger, real hot prospect that's done it, you know, to come in now and play the way that he wants to play as well. I think that's an important thing because it fit into Emery's system more, I think. Danny Ings was signed as a, I don't want to sound harsh on him, but he was signed as an appeasement after we sold Jack, wasn't it? Because it was announced on the night, and that the obvious reason for that was to soften the blow of the Jack exit. And he's never really fitted into any of the systems we've played, has he? So it always felt a little bit of a strange sign in the time. We all welcomed it because of his track record, but I wish him all the best at West Ham, and you know I've certainly got no ill feeling towards him. He's been a consummate professional, and he's wore the shirt with pride, and that's all you can ask for.
And we do have John Duran coming in as well, 19-year-old striker. And I hate the phase one for the future, but he's not going to come in and be an out-and-out first-team player straight away. He's going to have to sort of adapt and not earn his stripes, but I imagine it's off the bench type stuff. So, like we're saying, it does feel like we do need a striker. So, where are you at then with the striker front, and what type of striker do you think we need then?
As I say, I'm not. I've got no inside information really at Villa, so this is just my thinking. We have obviously been linked with sort of attacking midfielders slash wingers slash forwards that can play in numerous positions. So it wouldn't surprise me if we brought in a player like Delafeu or Ismail Assar, that type of player that can play an attacking role, left, right, centrally, but also could be a supplementary striker if you needed him. You know, so that wouldn't surprise me if we did a deal like that and then look in the summer to really go big on a real top striker, because ultimately, if you want to get top six in the Premier League, you need a top striker. You know, every one of them clubs that are fighting out up there have got strikers that are banging the goals in, week in, week out, really. And we just haven't got that. You know, with all the best will in the world to Ollie Watkins, he's not that prolific goal scorer that we all hoped he would be. So we have got to sign that real prolific top end striker. So I wouldn't be annoyed if we didn't go out and sign him now. If there was one available now and we had the money and we could do the deal, great, go and do it. It's very difficult to do that in the winter window. So I would be surprised if we brought in a sort of flexible player that can play different roles, and we let Ollie Watkins just see the season out as the main striker, which he is anyway. Obviously the worst case scenario is he gets injured, which we don't want to happen. So that's why we do need some kind of backup within the squad. I wouldn't even. I'm thinking out loud, really. Now, would you be averse to bringing back sort of like a Keenan Davis just to give us a bit of depth instead of having to go and splash sort of 80 million quid on somebody you're not sure about? Do you know what I mean? I'd rather see us have like one or two of the. No, what I mean by that is I'm not saying Keenan Davis is the answer. I'm not even saying it's just rather than leave yourself with nothing, with no options at all. He's a player that's on our books, and potentially if we did get in a bit of a pickle with injuries, we wouldn't have to spend any money on him. But my personal opinion is we'll get like a Delafeu or Ismail Assar type player in that can play multiple positions.
Yeah, I agree.
And then you got John Duran maybe to play reserve football, and who knows? He could surprise them with how much he's he could maybe add to the strikers. We might see him play the odd cameo role off the bench. So I think I wouldn't want to put the pressure on him as second choice striker at 19, coming from sort of MLS. But who knows? Who knows what he could offer?
Yeah, and I mean, final word then on the Danny Ings stuff. I just really honestly feel like it was just Villa's right time to not the right time to sell him, but the price was right to sell him, and that's why I think we've done it. I think we've probably looked at it and thought we weren't going to get that type of money outside of this window. Cash in, and then we'll assess where we are, because I think we are openly looking for a striker, and we just need the right one to become available. And I think we've probably looked at it and thought, well, we're not going to go down, so we can sell him really. So let's
I
have a
think
look.
it is the right time to sell him. Yeah, I do think it's the right
I do
time.
too, because
Yeah,
outside of this window, you're not getting £15 million for him. You're
I mean,
getting
let's
four
say
or five.
Ollie Watkins stays fit for the rest of the season. We're going to get what's he going to have? 10 substitute appearances, maybe the odd start. So I think it's the right time.
Yeah, definitely. So let's have a look at the fitness news coming out of Aston Villa then. So we'll go with Ollie Watkins. Ollie has trained normally on Wednesday and Thursday, and he's likely to be available for selection on Saturday. Matty Cash is expected to be available for selection on Saturday after missing the win over Leeds United last week. So, Justin, who plays at right back?
I think Ashley Young probably retains his place just for this week, and then I think Cash probably will just get a cameo role off the bench just to give him a few minutes. Um, I think that's the way I think I'd go. Ash Young has been absolutely outstanding for us this season, so I've got no problems whatsoever with keeping him in for this game. He's a pleasure to watch play, to be honest. And that pass out from the back that set up the first goal was absolutely sublime. So not only is he turned out to be a very, very good defensive right back, but he's got the vision, hasn't he? And he's certainly got the legs still. So I've got no real qualms about him playing on Saturday against Southampton. So, and it's nice to have Cash on the bench, isn't it, as an option, which we probably, with 5 subs, you probably will get on for 20 minutes, half an hour at the end. There's no point in risking him and getting him injured again. So it was a strain, I think, wasn't it? So I can't see him playing the full 90. So keep him on the bench. Start with Ashley Young and then bring Cash on for a bit of a cameo at the end.
Yeah, John McGinn is still 1 or 2 weeks away from returning to full training with the squad, so that's a little bit of a blow. But I think after this game, if we've got a week off.
Yes, 2 weeks till we play home, isn't it?
Yeah, so really that should possibly see McGinn back in contention then, shouldn't it?
I would think so, yeah. Saturday 21st, we've got Southampton, then it's the 4th of Feb, then Saturday against Leicester at home. So there is 2 weeks. So, yeah, you would imagine that this will be the last game that McGinn will miss now, which is be nice to have him back because he definitely really started to motor, didn't he? Then he got this injury. So he would add a lot more competition into that spot. And we haven't really got anyone that can play in that role that he's playing at the moment, have we? That's got all the attributes that he's got. The sort of fitness, the up and down, the tactical ability he's got, the technical ability. He's very good defensively as well, and he can get forward and score a goal. So we have missed him a little bit. It's weird, really, because he's had a lot of stick this season, hasn't he, John McGinn? But when he dropped out the side, you sort of think, we have missed his tenacious character, haven't we, around the pitch?
Yeah. Especially against Leeds. In other news, we have got Luca Dean is unavailable for Saturday due to an injury he picked up against Leeds United. So it looks like Moreno will start at left back. Augustinson is still here. Ludwig is available again after missing the win over Leeds United through injury. So I guess he was going to go, but I guess because Luca Dean had that little bit of an injury, now he's probably stayed. So we still got Augustinson.
I think he'll be gone by the end of the window.
Yeah.
I think he's one of probably 2 or 3 that are earmarked for departure. you would think. I mean, we haven't seen anything of Nakamba, have we? So he's going to be gone, and poor old Morgan Sanson never seems to get a break. So I think it's time for him to cut loose and to get a move now as well.
Definitely. And Carlos is working alone on the pitch at Bodymore and he's continuing his progress well with his recovery. So sounds like he's on the grass, which is
he's on the grass.
So he'll have a ball at his feet in no time. So that's looking a little bit better. Just before we get into what Unai Emery said, Percy's done a little article about Emery. So I'll quickly read a little bit of the transcripts from that. Sawiris was heavily involved in the search for a new head coach and met with Pochettino at least twice. Sources close to Pochettino admit it's the closest he was coming to accepting a job after being impressed. Emery's renowned attention to detail soon became apparent. In his first week, he waited for his visa. He locked himself in a Basque bunker and watched all of Aston Villa's games of this season and some from the end of the last campaign. Emery wants a winger as a priority. There have been talks with Udinese over a deal for Deulofeu and possibly another centre-back. Emery is thought to be targeting another technical director to work above or alongside Johan Lang. So we did have that sporting director that apparently turned us down, didn't we? Did you hear about that?
No.
Yeah, we I think, who was it? Was it like Real Sociedad or something like a team like that? We went in for their director.
Possibly someone that's worked with him before, maybe. Yeah,
and he said no. So it does look like we are looking for someone to work with him. So
alongside him. Yeah,
that's interesting. So let's have a little look at some of the quotes then from Unai Emery in the press conference. So on Danny Ings, he will sign with West Ham. His commitment was amazing here with his teammates, and he helped to be better. Our performance. I decided to let him go because I think for him it was a very good offer for the club as well. So it's pretty much what we've been saying, isn't it, Justin? It's win-win for both.
It's almost like we was at the press conference. I think he's absolutely nailed it. I think, like I said before, with this dropped, I think the offer came in. I think they had to go away. I think, that's a good offer for a player that's coming towards latter end of his career. And I think 15 million quid for a bloke that's on 120 grand a week that's not going to play much. It's a bit of a no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah. On John Duran, he said he's a young player. We want to develop with him, but we are not thinking that he will be a replacement for Danny Ings. He has also gone on to mention current transfer plans. The idea is to get balance with another striker. It's going to be very difficult to sign a striker to improve our team and squad, but we will try to do it now or in the summer. And then he's also said Nakamba and Sanson have the possibility to leave. If they leave, the idea is to maybe add one more player as a midfielder. So, we're openly on the lookout for a striker, a midfielder, a winger. So, I think the money's there to do it, but it's got to be the right fit for Aston Villa, and it's got to be the right fit for the team. From what Percy was saying, it does feel like we're in for Deulofeu as well, doesn't it? So what are your thoughts on that? And then what is mentioned about the transfers?
Yeah, I think the John Duran thing, I think it's what we all knew, what we said, before these tweets dropped, was he's one for the future. There's nothing stopping him making an impact at all. If he's good enough, he'll get a game, and if he impresses, he might get more than a game, you don't know. Yes, definitely need another striker. Again, what we said earlier, they will try and do it now. It's notoriously difficult to do it in the January transfer window, but if somebody's available and they can do the deal, they will do it. No question about that. So that's going to be an interesting one to follow between now and the end of the window. And if not, it's been exciting somewhere ahead, going after a real top striker. We'll know that's on the cards. And again, it makes sense, if you lose Nakamba and Sanson, whilst they haven't really played much, I would think if you added their wages together and the transfer fees, you could probably get a half decent midfielder for what you're going to get for those two. So let's say we sign. We was talking about it in the group earlier. Marcus Thuram up front, Delafeu as a winger, and Guendouzi as an auxiliary midfielder. That ain't a bad window, is it? If we could get that kind of deals done, I know
Don't get me
I'm
excited,
hoping for a
Justin.
lot. I know I'm hoping for a lot, but the Delafeu one really excites me. To be honest, he's a player that always had ability. I used to watch him when he broke through at Barcelona. I used to watch him practically every single game because Messi was there at that time, so I was literally glued to every game, and he always impressed me there. He had a couple of moves in England which he did really well at, but it's only really this move to Udinese that's really, ignited his career again. He looks fantastic there. I've read a few quotes that have been attributed to him today, and it doesn't sound like he's desperate to leave there, which you wouldn't be if you're playing that well and in a good run of form. But there's nothing saying that we can't, maybe entice him over to play with us. The Premier League is the premier, football competition in the world, league format. So I would imagine he might fancy another crack at it. We've got a Spanish manager, haven't we? So, you'd fancy you'd feel at home here. We've got a few Spanish lads turning up now as well and Spanish speaking. So, the squad there's building and we need depth. We need a little bit of quality in certain positions. And it certainly looks like that they're trying their best to do this. I'm not going to stress myself out if these deals don't get done and they don't get over the line because we've got the summer to do. I still think this squad we've got is good enough to finish around where we are now, which is fine. It's not where we want to be in 2 or 3 years' time by any stretch of the imaginations, but for where we are now and we're in a rebuilding job, let's not get too hampered and worried about league positions. We're not going to get down. We're not going to finish in Europe more than likely. So I'd rather see us do good business in this window, and it looks like they're really starting to motor now with ins and outs. So let's just keep our heads together and watch what unfolds over the next 2 weeks. And if we don't get the players we hoped we'd get in this window, that's fine as well. We'll go again in the summer and try and build a squad to compete on all fronts next season.
Yeah, definitely. And then it finished off with every match is very difficult. We won a very competitive and tough match against Leeds. I want to win. We will have to play a very good match, both offensively and defensively. And he also went to say about Southampton, I have a lot of respect for them. They won against Man City and Everton and I have a lot of confidence. So, yeah, it's going to be a tough game. That is all from us. That's our full week of match content for Southampton. We've built it up. Now they've just got to go and deliver. I'm glad they've done the press conference today because I am going tomorrow to Southampton to stay over and get on it. So I'm going to have a good one. But yeah, let's hope we can get the win. Cheers, everyone that's been watching us recently. Your support is amazing. The views are... I can't believe how good the views are. We've had the best month already we've ever had, and we're only halfway through the month. So, yeah, it's absolutely tremendous. So, if you are liking us and you aren't subscribed, hit the button, show us some support, drop it a like, and just get involved like you always normally do. So, up the Villa.
Bring us 3 points back, Luke, will you? Please.
I'll try.
Up the Villa.